All right, folks, if you are wondering how screwed our U.S. economy is, well, I got the answer for you right here. We just got the official Cramer kiss of death, and you know what that means. Now, yesterday we played some clips of Jim Cramer kind of pouting on the show yesterday, asking what has Bitcoin ever done for mankind, which I would agree, it hasn't done much. It's got a little narrative, and it does a little something there, right? Moving some value slowly, inefficiently, and expensively. It has that going for it. Store of value is debatable. But nonetheless, Cramer making his calls that just time and time again appear to be the exact opposite of what is actually going to happen. And so we got this tweet that was put out last week by Cramer, and he says that we're in a roaring economy, but I'm going to show you some economic data points right here that are of concern. I'm not here to say that we're going to go into a Great Depression crash, but we do see that blockchain backer, right underneath this tweet, we have this chart that he shared where we have the exact same bubble forming from the roaring 20s that we have experienced here from 2009 to 2024. From 1921 to 1929, the Dow Jones went up 504%, and from 2009 to 2024, we did the exact same amount. So yeah, call it a roaring economy, call it the roaring 20s, everybody have a good time, right? And I'm going to show you data points that Cramer and these other talking head pundits are running with to spout these narratives that the economy is strong, there's no reason to worry. And this is what we're talking about right here. The second reading of US Q4 2023 GDP comes in at 3.2%, below expectations of 3.3%, but still a positive reading, right? Now, let me know if you're seeing growth in our economy or if you're just seeing paying higher prices for the same products and services, because that's what I'm seeing. Are we producing more? Are we, bringing more services and products to the market? Or are we just charging more for the same products and services? That's where I think this GDP comes from. We are on track for 6 consecutive quarters of positive GDP growth. We have not had 2 consecutive quarters with declining GDP since Q2 of 2022. Is the Fed on track for a soft landing? Well, the Fed's on track to bring us into a silent recession is where we're at, in my opinion. And I'm going to show you data points to reflect that. Remember, 2022, we did have 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, and it was politically incorrect. It was offensive to call it a recession, so we didn't. We just said, hey, yeah, we don't identify as a recession. We're not going to call it that. And we continued about our business as if everything was fine. Meanwhile, we saw stocks like Nvidia crash almost 70% during that time. So it wasn't just, 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. We got sacrificed in our stock market. We also went through the crypto bear market. Now we're starting to come out onto the other side of that. But the economic data points like this one show us that inflation's not going away. And I believe that we're a long ways away from a quote unquote roaring economy, especially on Main Street. Just because the stocks are pumping, just because Wall Street is experiencing a roaring good old time, doesn't mean that reflects back home on Main Street. We get this data point today. PCE shows biggest rise in inflation in 4 months. Now, this is PCE, fastest pace in 4 months. But if you look at the core PCE, which strips out food and energy, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, they love to track these inflation data numbers without food and energy because who needs that? Rose by 0.4%, the largest increase in a year. So we're clearly not over this inflation bout, and this is starting to reflect in the consumer confidence. Check out this data right here from Tavi Costa. Consumer confidence, present situation versus future expectations. And this is what I mean. The Main Street folks like myself and you guys are starting to see this, right? The same exact sentiment being shared across the board here that we saw right before the COVID recession, right before the global financial crisis, right before the tech bubble, savings and loans crisis, double dip recession, stagflationary recession, 1969 recession. Do you see what I'm talking about here? The folks are not getting fooled anymore. Despite how many tweets that talking head pundits like Jim Cramer will put out about a roaring economy, despite how much more Nvidia rips up, right? The folks on the Main Street are starting to see there's a much different situation taking place. And most people, like myself included, would say that we're already in a silent recession. This is what's worrying so many folks is 70,000 job cuts this month. Now, last month in January, we had 103,000. Month before that in December was 32,000. And you're seeing right here, massive layoffs are coming in. And what are these stocks doing, right? So-and-so company announces 10,000 layoffs. Stock pumps. Shareholders are buying it up. Oh, we're cutting off the fat, growing our margin. And so the markets rally off of Main Street getting sacrificed and losing their job. And the ripple effects are spreading through this economy rather quickly. And what is the market talking about? What is Wall Street talking about? Well, they're talking about Bitcoin and the stock market that are pumping harder than during quantitative easing, infinity, and zero rates. There must be some type of backdoor QE that is injecting massive amounts of liquidity in the system. In a restrictive monetary policy, this is not possible. Finance Lot responds and he says, it's called a blow-off top. It always happens when economic and liquidity conditions have worsened because they want retail all in before they rug it. This is exactly what Lynette Zhang said yesterday in our interview. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go back and watch. That's a must watch with Lynette Zhang. Absolute legend. And what'd she say? As long as they want to keep on making their exits, they're going to keep on providing that liquidity. We have a backstop that's still there. It expires March 11th here in just less than 2 weeks now. The BTFP, Bank Term Funding Program, the backstop for all of the banks. Yeah, that program's ending on March 11th. And so we've had programs in place. It's not direct QE. It's not 0% interest rates, right? They've raised rates, right? And they're not doing quantitative easing. But at what pace are they doing tightening? A pace that doesn't even matter, essentially. And the Fed's still having to show up at these treasury auctions to bail out because nobody else is showing up. Foreign buyers of our bonds are not showing up either. We're having abysmal treasury auction bonds that are taking place right now. And we're set to have the largest bond auction ever in April. That's how desperate our government's getting. But once again, this relates to the final phases of a blow-off top. Time and time again, right? These manias always finish like this. And so although, and folks thought, because I put out a video yesterday, highlighting that Bitcoin was ripping, Bitcoin's pumping. And what did I say? I respect the pump. Do I believe that it has support? Do I believe that it has strong legs? Do I believe that it's based off of fundamentals? Not entirely. Not entirely off fundamentals. There is narrative. There is fundamentals behind Bitcoin. But is it, worth going to 64,000? No matter what I think about Bitcoin, right? Isn't going to stop it from pumping. No matter what I think about Nvidia and these stocks is not going to stop it from pumping. I just don't care to, try to squeeze another 10, 20% out of these stocks, out of a Bitcoin, when I know that we have 60, 70% downside, just like we saw in November 2021 when Nvidia posted the best earnings ever, huge beat. This thing can't be stopped. 68% sacrifice after that. Same thing with Bitcoin leading up to March 2020. This is the beginning of the next bull run. Are we going to go to an all-time high before the halving? These are the same exact headlines, guys. As the sheep get led to the slaughter. As the sheep get led to a 60% sacrifice for Bitcoin in March of 2020. Are we going to do the same thing? Is this going to be a Great Depression? I don't know, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out. And so folks were saying yesterday, oh, now you've gone all bullish. No, God, no. I respect the pump. My bags are packed. I like making money. But I'm not going to I'm not going to get sloppy drunk here and celebrate this pump when I see the fundamental data. Yeah, I'll have one drink with you guys, but then I'm going to go home and get back to business and get back to work because I know that this isn't sunshine and rainbows. And so enjoy the gains. Good luck selling. I just dropped a video this morning talking about Coinbase and all these other exchanges not allowing us to sell when we get these pumps. So good luck and God bless trying to sell during this bull run. That's going to be the real challenge. But enjoy the pump while it lasts. But remember that we need to, remain solvent, right? These markets can remain irrational longer than we can remain solvent. So I'm not shorting right now. I'm not standing in front of the freight train. I just have a little protection. It's called a safety net, and it's called silver, and it's called cash. Okay. And it's called a business that's going to keep spitting me out cash flow no matter what's happening in this economy. Because that business has a solid infrastructure, has almost no debt, incredible cash flow, and we just keep pumping and turning out the profits. So that's what I want for you guys, is to make sure that while we enjoy the pump, while we respect the pump, we got our safety net, we got our silver, we got our gold, we got our cash. We got a business that's still spitting out cash flow, no matter whether the GDP is still going up and it's a roaring economy, or whether we do actually enter into a technical recession. Make sure you guys are prepared out there. If you guys want additional help, you can get in touch with me. By the way, we are scheduling one-on-one sessions right now. I'm not going to give you financial advice, but I will share my opinions. I will sit down and have a conversation, whether we're going to talk your business, whatever else you want to talk about. That's all at my website, zachrector.com. And remember that we have our Discord weekly calls every single Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and that would be 11:30 Eastern. And we'll also be going live tonight on our YouTube at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So our new live schedule is Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and Saturdays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay? So make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. Everything's at my website, zachrector.com. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.